Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday 136. Original sin or original wound? Question. I often get triggered when an authority figure or a competitive person comes into my life. They seem to dampen my light and I feel threatened by their existence. I shake in my bones when I am in their company. I don't understand why I feel threatened, because it is clear there is no real harm taking place. What is going on with me? Okay, yeah, so these people who show up in your life and you get triggered by them, they're what your ego considers as a threat. What that threat is that they are connecting to a wound, and they represent that an exposure of the wound that you feel as an ego being. And so the threat is that something they say or do will reveal the pain that you already feel inside of you. That they have the power to, the pain is that I am separate, or I am empty, or I am nothing, or I am bad, or I am, but whatever it is, this identity is from the sense of being separate from the divine. So they just are pressing on a nerve of the sense of separation. And that's how it's showing up for you. So your ego has designed a strategy or a structure to protect this open wound. The original wound is the one where from that divine oneness came a sense of separation. And it's only a sense of separation, it's not real. But there's a sense of separation. Now, what's that about? That's called your original wound. Now, the ego comes along and says, oh, well, you can't survive with a wound, so I'm going to cover it up so that you can survive in this world, and we'll create some strategies so that you can survive in this world with this wound. That's the ego agreement with you. And so these people that you feel triggered by are just somehow opening up that wound, and that's not allowed. They're not allowed to open up that wound. And that's what's going on. Because you made an agreement, or the ego made an agreement with you that that was not allowed to happen. Because if that happened, it meant your demise, or it meant your dissolution. It means that you're going to die somehow. That's how the ego projects it. But it's not true, but somehow the ego believes that. So from your ego perspective, you are separate, alone, and you need help. And you're empty without the support of the ego hiding your wound. Now, from the divine love perspective, there's nothing, you have no wound. You're whole and perfect and complete as you are. So the thing is that when we dip from this vision of oneness, from this understanding of truth, of this reality, we hit this separation experience. And then the ego thinks that it's got to strategize. And this is the thing. Well, let's just go into, when there's a sense of separation, that is the Christianity's term for sin. The sin, the original sin, is when we feel separate from the divine. As I said earlier, it's an illusion. It's not true. You are always one and whole. But it's the illusion, the sense of separation. That's called the original sin. And it's painful. It's painful to feel separate. And it's shocking how much the ego will direct your life with one strategy after another. And this is like, in retrospect, when you look back and you see from the ego's perspective what you have done since you were a child. Every little thing, every little decision you made about how to survive in this world was based on avoiding this original wound. So you're fragile. And we're all fragile. As egos, we're very fragile. The ego doesn't have any substance. It's elusive. It doesn't actually have, it's not really real. And that's the thing. We gotta, our work here as yogis, as warriors, spiritual warriors, we have to go right into that wound and find out that it's false. And that's a relief, but the hardest thing to do, and the ego won't even allow you in there because it's shut. It doesn't want you to know that it's separate. It doesn't want you to feel separate. It doesn't want you to feel the pain of separation. But the fact is, you've got to know that it's not even real, that the wound is not a wound. It's just a misperception. You're not seeing it correctly. And that's why you're projecting onto these others that they have some kind of key to open up that wound. The ego is saying, don't allow them in to open up that wound. And they don't even have a key. They're just being who they are. But the ego feels the threat. So the sooner that you can go into that wound and discover its falseness, the happier and the freer you're going to be in your life, in your state of consciousness. And you will never have to make decisions about or strategize in your life about how to avoid someone opening this wound. So the illusion of the wound has to disappear. And when you do this, this idea of sin, this is an incorrect idea. It's actually a wound. There is no sin. The idea, the Christian idea is that, oh Lord, I have sinned. Please forgive me. What you're really saying is, oh dear, I have fallen from my level of oneness consciousness, and please forgive me, meaning like I want to be reconnected to the divinity state. So I am no longer in the suffering state of the illusion that I am separate from you, Divine One. So if we treat sin as the original sin as original wound, then we'll realize that all we have to do is go right into the wound and find out that it's actually not there. Wow, what a precious thing to wake up one day and realize there is no wound. You've always been whole and complete. And there is no need to hide or protect or feel threatened or have any fear. And that's it for today's Wisdom Wednesday. See you next time. Bye.